evening, everybody. Welcome to 𝐒𝐿𝐼. My name's Julianne Peterson, and I have lost my voice today. I am your host every Tuesday night for 𝐒𝐿𝐼, and I am a senior director at Old Capital Lending. We are a premier provider of debt. So if you are looking at a deal, and I know you are, I would love the opportunity to be your lender of choice. And so all we're going to need is your T12 rent roll, offering memorandum, and your underwriting. Now, listen, I need you to go talk to your insurance broker, probably JT, most likely. I need you to talk to your property manager and the taxing assessor's office to find out, have I put my assumptions in the model correctly? And once that is approved, then let's get on the phone, send me that information, and we'll get you in 48 hours an indication. So you know exactly, based on the financials, how much money your lender, who's your biggest partner, is going to bring. That's super valuable, because how can you put in an LOI without knowing how much the bank is going to bring? You don't want to overpay on these assets today. So we are excited about today's guest. We're going to have VP here talking about AI in syndication in multifamily, how it's going to affect how you present your deals, how you can utilize it in your presentations, and what's coming up, and how you can utilize these different software programs, apps that are out there. So
good evening, everyone. To help Julie out, I'm going to announce our speaker tonight. And I hope I don't butcher the name too much. I understand how it is to have your name butchered. His name is Vaibhav Puranik. Am I close?
That's actually accurate. Absolutely accurate.
All right, I'm so happy. And we'll call him VP for short tonight, with an impressive 15-year tenure in the real estate sector and a distinguished 4-year journey as an active syndicator. VP stands at the crossroads of real estate and technology. His expertise extends beyond the realm of real estate. VP is a seasoned technologist, currently serving as the Senior Vice President of Technology at a prominent mid-sized tech company renowned for its proprietary AI innovation. His rare and valuable blend of AI knowledge and real estate acumen sets him apart in the industry. That's great. Residing in Los Angeles, VP boasts a master's degree in computer science. Let's join VP as he brings this unique perspective to the world of multifamily syndication, demonstrating the dynamic role of AI in shaping the future of real estate. Welcome, VP.
Thank you. Thank you, Paula.
Yes, turn it over to
I'm
you.
going to share my...
Tell us about your background and what you do. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. I'm just going to share my screen first. Make sure everybody can see it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I welcome everyone. So my name is Vaibhav, and the company that I represent from the real estate sector, the name of the company is Old Money Capital. So not to confuse with Old Capital, right? Yeah, we are not a lender, so please do not contact us for any kind of money. We ask people for money. We don't give out any money. So yeah, it's Julie's work to actually give out money. Yeah, so I'm based in Los Angeles. I've been in Los Angeles in 2005. And I was in Texas, actually. I was in Houston before that. I did my master's from University of Houston. As Paula said, I'm a tech executive in a leadership role. But I've been doing real estate for a really long time. And I've done syndications, 3 syndications. I've done deals. 4th deal is what I'm looking for right now. I'm working with Kohar and Samir, who are actually present here on that deal. Yeah, so let's just dive into today's topic and see what. So first of all, here is what Elon Musk tweeted, right, about a year ago, that it has the potential to unleash a new era of human innovation. That's what he talked about, AI. And it's basically what he means is it's as fundamental as something like discovery of a wheel or discovery of internet, which actually changed the world, right? And he thinks that the current wave of AI is so powerful that it can be as powerful as that, like a new era of innovation. Now, McKinsey Digital did a study, and in that study, they said that the current generative AI and other technologies have the potential to automate work activities that absorb 60 to 70% of employees' time today. And that means whatever you are doing in your jobs, even in real estate as well, your work will be 60 to 70% of that work will get automated using these AI technologies. So there should be a wake-up call for everybody. So if you don't understand these technologies, then good luck for the future, because your job might not be there, right? And again, something else that McKinsey Digital Study says is that generative AI will have a significant impact across all industry sectors. Here, the all industry sectors is important. That means it's not limited to a tech industry only. The impact of that will be realized in everywhere. And when I show you some examples, you will realize like how fundamental it is and how it affects literally everywhere. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through some examples of how this AI can change your multifamily syndication, especially the syndication domain, and how you can use these tools in syndication. Then understand the technology behind it, at least at a higher level. Because if you don't understand what it is good at and what it is not, you don't understand the basics of it, then you won't be able to use these tools more effectively. And that is why it is important that you understand the underlying concepts as well. And the third thing is, what does this mean for future? And that, to be fair, that is speculation. That is my opinion, right? But because I'm in a tech industry for a long time and have overseen AI teams over a long time, I may be in a little bit better shape to predict what can happen than most other people who are not really familiar with AI that much. So let's start with examples right away in syndication domain. So let's say what this AI enables you to do is you can add audio to your blog post very easily. Now you can like take whatever, so the first area to attack is marketing, right? In a syndication area, you have like 3 or 4 major areas. Like one is marketing and investor acquisition, right? And in investor acquisition, you have your website, you are trying to like generate leads, you're trying to contact more and more investors, right? And so you use a lot of tools, you do social media posts, all sorts of stuff. So right, we're going to look at that. We're going to look at asset management, right, as the area. So we're going to look at different areas of syndication, how AI can help you in different areas. So let's start with marketing. So if you have a website, you can not only write a blog post using AI, but not just that, you can also add a audio for that using AI, because today's generative AI tools are so good that they can actually read out your blog post in very natural sounding voice. And not just natural sounding voice, you can choose, these tools offer like a library of sort of voices, and you can choose male voice versus female voice, and all sorts of voices. And then you can just pick a voice that you like, and you can put that very natural sounding audio to your blog post.
Those are like the voices in my head.
And another thing is that, well, what's crazy is it's not just that you can choose from a library of voices, you can also read it in your own voice. That is the craziest thing, which means you can train that AI with your voice. So you give your voice samples in one of these 3 websites. It's Podcastle, 11 Labs, or Descript. You go to one of these tools, you submit a audio of your own voice, and it gets trained in its own your voice. And then after that, whatever text you give it to it, it'll read it in your own voice. So you don't have to even choose somebody else's voice. You can actually like just write stuff and then read it in your own voice without having to spend significant time in recording it. Because writing is much faster than recording it. You have to do multiple retakes in order to record your podcast or something. So imagine that, like a platform like Podcastle, you can generate a podcast, entire podcast, simply by giving a bunch of text to it. So it is very powerful. You don't have to actually, you don't have to really have a recording studio, or you don't have to retake that, record it again and again until you get it right. You just put the right punctuation and it will read right for you. So it takes a little bit of tweaking to actually get it, the pauses right and all that stuff, but it's so good already that you'll be amazed if you try to use it. So that's one use. You could even have your podcast. You can add your, you can add the audio to your blog posts. You can generate an entire video from the text, entire video. So my website actually, my YouTube channel actually have this entire video. And this entire video is, this person is talking. It's about cost segregation. So Mark, you'll like it. But it's on cost segregation, and whatever is here, this person is actually, this person is not reading that. I've given it a separate text, and that person is reading that text. So their lip movements match what they're saying perfectly, all right. And it's a completely fake person. So you can generate like the entire YouTube video, a presentation, without, like, just by having a bunch of text. That's it. So it's not only you can generate audio, but you can generate an entire video. So that could be useful for you. I have this video on my YouTube channel, Old Money Capital's YouTube channel, so you can take a look how it is. And by the way, that is very crude video. You can make it way better than that. It's just amount of, it depends on how much time you're willing to spend on it.
I have a question. Does YouTube flag it?
No, not at all. Absolutely not at all. Because it's a legit thing, right? You're not doing anything wrong, right? You're not putting out, so the content has to be, and I'm going to actually talk about this a little bit later, who is responsible for this content. So we'll talk about that. But no, YouTube doesn't flag it at all. Yeah. You can write a book. Now there is a concept of lead magnet, right? In marketing world, Michael Bank always talks about that, right? Lead magnet. So you need a lead magnet. And I wrote this before AI came out, because this was written like 3 or 4 years ago. But now you don't have to do that. You can write your entire lead magnet using ChatGPT, right? So ChatGPT is just one of the tools that you have at your disposal, but you can write entire books using this. So, but again, be careful about it, right? You can't just tell it to write a book for me. It doesn't work that way. You have to make a structure of it. You have to provide it, the structure to it. You have to make sure that the content is generating is accurate. You have to correct it. So it's a bit of process, but it's still way easier than paying someone else to write for you, or spending that effort from scratch for you to write your own lead magnet. So you can use it to generate your...
What about copyright and use permissions? Is there any issues with that?
So that's a good question. So there's actually one lawsuit right now in the court, and that area is a gray area right now. And so currently it's all open for all, essentially. The question is whether it copies verbatim from somebody or not. It doesn't try to copy verbatim from somebody. It generates its own text based on that. It could have similarity. So that is why I think they might not win. So it doesn't copy it. So in my opinion, right now, at this moment, there's no copyright issue. And what you have the copyright of stuff you generate from this AI. But frankly speaking, this all will get resolved in the next few years, when some lawsuits will happen and somebody will win, somebody will lose, and then the precedents will sort of be laid down. Now, summarization is another use case, right? Another interesting thing. In here, I got an NHD report, and I just sent it to that ChatGPT and say, well, tell me what hazard zones it is. And it read that report, which is very long, and gave me a quick description. You can do the same thing about inspection reports or title documents or whatever you want, which are really, really long documents, and you don't want to go through that. You can simply give them ChatGPT or Google's Bard, and it'll read it for you and summarize it. Of course, I'm not asking you to be dependent on that. Be careful about it, right? It's not like it's going to be, and I'm going to talk about that as well later on, where you should be careful and where you should not be careful. But summarization is a very popular use case. Generate social media post. This is a post that I've generated using social media. This particular image that you see, so this is, I'm talking about retirement, right? I'm trying to promote invest in real estate because you won't have to live longer in retirement. And so I generated this image using midjourney.ai. That's another tool at your disposal, and it costs like $10 per month or something. And I described a scenario in which a couple is walking in their retirement on a seashore, and it generated this beautiful image for me. And this is completely copyright-free image. Okay? I can use this image in my social media post, or a lot of people buy like Shutterstock license, and they have to like get those images from Shutterstock. But instead of that, now if you are creative enough, you can describe the situation, then you can actually generate images in midjourney.ai. And now ChatGPT can also generate those images, right? Midjourney.ai has been there for a while. They are there before even ChatGPT came, or ChatGPT started generating images, or DALL-E started generating images. So you can do that. You can also ask it to generate, you can ask ChatGPT to generate the social media post itself. Not only that, I use a tool called Simplify, which generates the hashtags as well using AI. So you can generate the text that you're posting, you can generate the image that you're posting, and you can generate the hashtags that you're posting. So you can generate all three of them using AI. Right now, they're in different tools, but at this moment, ChatGPT can do, I think, all three of them. Their capabilities have evolved. This field is changing so much that every 2 or 3 months, the tools improve and they start doing more that they were not doing 2, 3 months ago. So at this moment, ChatGPT can use all three of them. Another interesting example I used is I get a property management statements, right? And these statements are in PDF a lot of times. And I gave that to ChatGPT and asked it to generate like the rental, because the statement you get is like this complicated statement with multiple entries for like rent and all that stuff, right? So you can simply describe that situation and say that, hey, give me a summary of this. Who paid how much rent, right? And then you can see it has summarized it properly with unit 1, 1600, unit 2, 1419, unit 3, 1650, right? I get all of that and I can just put it in a spreadsheet and move on, right? So that's an easy way to save like good half an hour there. This takes like 1 minute to do that, but in order to copy paste from a PDF and actually add them up and all that stuff, because some people pay rent in 2 different transactions or whatever, right? You can save all of yours. So this is the asset management, right? And the previous example was acquisition, essentially, or areas of syndication you can help with. Now, another thing is I was trying to do a deal. I entered into a contract, and the escrow people said that, well, I need a corporate resolution for that your company has decided to acquire this multifamily. So I'm like, I don't know what corporate resolution is, and I don't want to pay a lawyer for this, right? So I just went to ChatGPT and said, well, write me a corporate resolution to acquire XXXY property. And it wrote a corporate. Now, this has no legal standing, right? I mean, you have to be careful about what you're using it for legal documents, okay? You don't use it for important legal documents. Please don't use that. I'm not advocating that at all. But if it is an unimportant legal document that nobody cares about, you can generate LOI. LOIs don't have no standing in court. So you can do that kind of stuff, like less important stuff, right? So I just generated a corporate resolution saying that do it. And I told them we are these partners, just generate it. And we all agreed that we generate this. So it generated a corporate resolution. I gave it to it. It looks very professional, right? I put in my letterhead and sent it to the escrow. Escrow was happy, never asked a single question about it, right? So it's just a great use case to generate unimportant or less or almost zero important documents, right? If they are a document of some importance, please go to a lawyer. I'm not advocating for you to use AI instead of a lawyer. Please understand that. Another interesting tool is perplexity.ai, right? Which is a new kind of search engine, which is a rival to Google. It's actually amazing. It can answer, instead of a Google where you're searching, it can answer questions with their sources. So it'll tell you that I found, so in Google, what happens is it gives you different sources and you need to comb through that and find out what's right, what's not right. Here, it'll make that the conclusion for you, and then it will also state their sources, that I am taking it from these 3 sources. So for example, here, I said, can you find me 3 reputed plumbers in Modesto, California with their phone numbers? So it checked on various websites, it checked their ratings and all that, and then it told me that these 3 people are the reputed plumbers in Modesto, California. And then it told me that I found this on these websites. So then if you are doubtful about it, quickly go to those websites and see if those websites are legit, right? So perplexity.ai is a phenomenal new tool that can be used for basically asking any question in almost any domain. And it is very, very useful, very, very informative, and it can do wonders. So instead of searching in Google, a lot of people are now starting to search in perplexity.ai and talk more human-like interaction instead of searching stuff in Google. So that's another tool you have for your disposal. So those are the examples that you could do in a syndication domain. So now I want to get back to what is this technology? How does it work? And what does it do better? And what does it not do better? It is very important to understand what it cannot do, because if you use it for those things, then you're going to get wrong answer or you're going to get disappointed with it, right? So let's try to understand this technology a little bit better, how it works, what it does. So first thing to understand is there's a lot of hype about AI right now. And that's actually wrong to say that, because AI has been there forever. AI has been there for 50 years. Most people don't know that who are non-technology. The hype, today's hype, is particularly about a specific technology within AI called generative AI. So please understand that first, that this hype is about generative AI, not about the entire AI. And that's why some people also use the term Gen AI as a short form of generative AI. But so the hype is about generative AI. The second important thing to understand is generative AI is not all ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is not generative AI. There are many other tools besides ChatGPT that can be useful to you in using these generative AI tools. And for example, midjourney.ai, which will generate images, right? The perplexity.ai, as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of audio tools like Descript or 11 Labs or those are. So all these are generative AI tools, or synthesia.com is another tool that is useful to you. So there are many more tools available in the field of generative AI that can help you, not just ChatGPT. Otherwise, what happens is people think that generative AI is ChatGPT or AI is ChatGPT and ChatGPT is AI. That's not true. And there are many, many other tools that I'm not mentioning right now because I don't even know them, right? There are hundreds of tools available on internet. So please make use of them. And a lot of them are free, completely free. And most of the other tools are cost like really small amount, like $10 per month or $20 per month or something like that. So you need to understand there are many more tools out there besides ChatGPT. So how did this generative AI revolution started, right? There was an interesting research paper that came out in 2017. And the name of the paper was "Attention is All You Need." That was the name of the research paper. And if you Google it, or Perplexity AI, you'll find this paper. These are a lot of really, really smart people, mostly from Google. You can see that Google.com appears many times. who actually wrote this research paper. And what they did is they introduced a technology that really enabled ChatGPT or all of these other tools. So what earlier, the previous AI that was there, the ability to understand context was limited. It could read only like few sentences and then conclude something about it. But the technology that they introduced called transformers enabled them to read pages and pages of content and then do something based on that content. So ability to get context increased dramatically. And as a result of that, now the AI became much smarter because it's not giving you something based on just few sentences or half a page of reading. It's reading entire, it can read entire internet. It can read much more, keep much more context in memory. And as a result of that, it can just like be much more intelligent in answering your questions. So 2017 was a remarkable year from that perspective that this technology got introduced. All of these people, right, who names appear here, they actually got funding from various companies to start their own companies. I actually don't know what they're doing right now, but that paper really changed the world. Yeah. So the previous AI that we were practicing for all these years, right? It's a lot of times there's a technical term for it called discriminative models. And the current set of models that are called generative models. And what's the difference between them is that the discriminative models sort of takes information and divide it into classes, what's called classes. That means that, for example, if you just show them like bunch of images of, let's say, mobility vehicles, right? Various kinds of vehicles like bus, car, SUV, minivan, or even airplanes, trains, like, then it'll tell you that, oh, these are airplanes, these are trains, these are SUVs, these are cars. So what it did is it's kind of discriminated them. You give a bunch of data. And so the way to train it is that you give a bunch of data. You say that this is a bus, this is a train, and you give enough examples of that, then it starts recognizing it. It understands the pattern of that, and it starts recognizing that. And then if you give a bus photo that wasn't previously given to it, it still understands that this is a bus, because now he understands that how buses look. It's like a child, right? You show it to the child that, hey, look, buddy, this is a bus. This is a, and then it just, that the child just learns, right? That this is how a bus looks. And this is exactly how it works. So that was, and that's a computationally cheap, meaning, you can maybe show like 1 million examples of all these vehicles, and it's going to do a fairly good job in 97% of the time. So it's going to recognize those vehicles properly. Okay, after that. So it's not that you can do that in like one day. You probably need just one very powerful server or computer. That's it. But what generative models do is they generate new things, right? They generate a completely new text out of the blue, right? So the amount of data that needs to be fed to them is large. That's why the underlying technology is a lot of times called large language models, because you are giving them large amount of data, and large is really like entire internet, right? Of course, you don't literally give an entire internet. You pick and choose sources and give it to them. So that curation process is very complicated, and you have to run a server farm for this. Like thousands of computers are running to read that information and understand and learn, right? So it takes months for generative AI or large language model to learn something, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the new kind of AI. So those are differences between the newer generative models versus the previous discriminative. So previous discriminative models were specialized AI, which could do one thing really right. Okay, whereas generative AI is more general purpose AI, and it also generates completely new stuff. It can write stuff for you. It can generate an entire image, or it can generate an entire video for you based on looking at many, many, many other videos or text and images. Now, here's the biggest warning. of these presentations.
Oh my gosh.
Generative models do lie. Now, they don't literally lie, but what happens is they assume things. And sometimes their assumptions can be incorrect. And as a result of that, so there's a technical term for it. We call it hallucination. So hallucination in generative AI occur when the model produces false or irrelevant output, often due to training data limitations or misinterpretation of the context, right? So it is very important that you take the content it's generating, you verify the content it's generating, and you take it with a grain of salt. You make sure you verify it, right? Please use common sense. Make sure, read it, like never ever just take the output and give it to somebody. You're going to fall flat on your face one day. Okay, please be careful. These generative, of course, they're really good. They're good that they're 90% of the times they're right. Okay, but there is 10% of the times where they will generate false and wrong information. So be careful about that. And that's why I say this warning to you are responsible for the content you generate through AI. So you generate a blog post, you put it out on your website, and some of the statements that they're completely misleading, wrong, false, you know who people are going to laugh at? They're not going to laugh at generative AI. They're not going to laugh at ChatGPT. They're going to laugh at you, right? So you need to own the content that you generate. You need to be responsible for the content you generate. That is why it is important that you verify what's generated out there.
Can I ask you a question, please, sir?
Sure.
Is that because the generative AI is created with inherent bias of the platform, the people that prepare?
Well, there's two reasons for it. One is that there could be gaps in the training data. And what that means is, by the way, those balloons appear because I did this. It kind of interprets my gestures and it does it. AI again. Anyway, but one reason is that limitations in the training data, right? That means that there were some gaps. The training data was fed to this model. That information was never presented to the AI. So AI never learned it properly, right? Or the context about it was not right. And second thing is, of course, internet, the same warning applies to internet as well, right? Internet could have bad things, right? So if it is learning from internet, then it's also has good and bad both things, correct? So it depends on how much curation of data these people are doing in feeding that data to these models, right? So those are the reasons why it hallucinates or produces false information sometimes. I hope I answered your question.
Because that's data you paid a lot for. You just said that's more expensive. And if you paid a lot more for it, you know, it would be foolish to assume that just because you paid a lot, that what you
I mean,
is true.
That is correct. Yeah, I mean, look, it's a general purpose AI, right? That means there's just a world has infinite knowledge, right? It's not possible for a human to actually curate all that knowledge and feed it to models, right? They just try their level best, and they try level best in the domains that are most used or most humans are aware of, right? That's where it does really. So it works 80 to 90% time. It works really great.
Pesky 10%.
So another interesting thing is there is the whole concept of prompt engineering that has come up. And what is a prompt engineering? Prompt engineering meaning if you're going to Midjourney.ai, ChatGPT, Bard, or all these tools, right? What matters is how you describe the situation. So if you are saying that this is a property management statement and generate the summary of rents, it's not enough. This one line is not enough to it. You have to describe, you have to think that, okay, this AI is completely dumb. I'm going to describe everything possible. I'm going to give context about it, right? So you're going to talk about, so prompt is nothing but in English language instructions. You are giving it to that AI to do some task. So you're describing the situation. The more information you give it in that prompt, better your result is going to be. So you try to, you give it a role to it. It's like you are a real estate investment asset manager. You are reading this property management statement. Property management statements can have multiple transactions for the same unit because some people pay in multiple things. So what you do is you develop a really detailed prompt, you give it to it, you see the output, you check the answer, okay? You keep tweaking the prompt until it gets it right. And once it gets it right, save that prompt somewhere in a file somewhere. Now, next time you want to do that you simply pull out that prompt, give that same property management statement for next month, and now you're going to get reliable results. So a lot depends upon what prompt you are giving to this AI. So this is important that you tweak it until you get it right, and then after that you save that prompt somewhere. And because you saved it now, next time for the same task, you can simply use the same prompt. Okay. You can define the length and format of the response. You can also and the biggest thing is you can buy a prompt. Now, I don't know whether that applies to real estate domain or not, but if you want to write a book and all, there are already written prompts where you can fill in the gaps about the topic, and it can generate, the prompt is so detailed that it'll generate a really nice book for you. So these are some of the websites where you can go and these prompts are cheap, like $5, $10, $15, right? You can say, I want to write a book prompt, get a best book prompt out there for $10, $15, fill in your details about your book and give it to ChatGPT. Now you have a book. So Gumroad is one of the thing. So Etsy is not a website for prompt, right? Etsy is for artsy stuff, right? But Etsy also has a prompts marketplace now. So you can go to Etsy and actually buy a prompt. Prompt Attack, Prompt Hero, Prompt Base. These are some of the websites, and you can go and buy these prompts. So there is this whole field of prompt engineering that is coming up, or there are some people are getting more and more skillful in how to write prompts for specific tasks. And this is really the future. I mean, you really, instead of humans doing stuff that AI can do, humans will have to get better at getting work done from AI, right? You will have to be better at the instructions that needs to be given to AI. And that's a new skill, whole entire thing that's getting developed now. Okay, so now let's come to the last part of the presentation, right? Which is, what is the future, right? How does it look like? And I almost started with it, right? Is that you're going to have to get good at writing prompts. No matter what industry you are in, no matter what, even software engineer's job is threatened, because now this ChatGPT and there's a tool called Microsoft Copilot. GitHub Copilot, which is the Microsoft Copilot is different actually. It can actually write code for you. So a software engineer does not, 10 years later, software engineers will not write code. They will just write prompts to get code written, somebody from AI, right? And this is just the beginning. These tools, see, when we use these tools, right, you realize how good these tools are. And when we talk to researchers in our industry, they warn us that we don't even consider it good right now. There's we can make it so much better that it'll be 99% accurate instead of 90% accurate today. So 90% accurate is not good enough for them. So this is just the beginning. Like ChatGPT is now just announced ability to generate videos. It's not available. It's only available in beta form right now, but they can now do videos as well. So 3 months ago, this wasn't there. In 3 months, now ChatGPT has capability of generating videos as well. It can do text, image, and videos in one tool, right? So this is just the beginning, and where I can't even predict where it'll go. It's that crazy. It's that fast. Things are evolving. Another thing you will see happening is every tool will integrate generative AI tools in them. So for example, if you're using Google Doc or Gmail Like already Gmail can predict statements, right? It'll try to complete your sentence. Grammar is so 2000s. It's not even like 2010 or 2000. Grammar is not even a big deal anymore. So you can now Word, Photoshop, PowerPoint, all of these tools will have generative AI stuff. And that means instead of like trying to like drag and drop stuff and create your presentation, you just describe that. I want to take this template. I want a presentation on this topic. These are the bullet points. Boom, your presentation is generated, right? Or just complete this essay for me, or complete this stuff for me. So it's just those tools. Notion.ai, again, Notion is a tool that a lot of people use for note taking. That has significant amount of AI already. You will see generative AI used everywhere, all these tools. Google Docs is, Microsoft is enabling code. It'll be an operating system, right, of the computer. You don't have to actually like go even anywhere else. Your computer will have all these tools. So that's another thing that's rapidly happening. And you know what? What will be the most powerful programming language? Can anybody guess?
No.
Prompt engineering.
English.
Oh.
English will become the most powerful programming language. You don't have to actually learn those languages like Python or C, whatever, right? You will be able to give instructions in English to your computer. And that is the fundamental change that's happening right now. The interface between you and computer will change, and it'll become a human language instead of so it's able to understand the subtlety in human language. It's able to understand human languages now, right? It's not, you don't have to write in some other language for computer to understand. And that is the fundamental change, really, that's underlying. I don't know if you watched this movie, but this is one of my favorite movies. It came out like 10, 15 years ago. I don't even remember when it came out, but its name is Her. And this is a wonderful love story in which there's an AI on a computer, and Scarlett Johansson is the voice of that AI. Because we don't ever see the face, right? It's computer, right? So it's just the voice uses Scarlett Johansson's voice. And it's phenomenal. It shows what it does for, what can it do for you. It like contacts a publisher and publishes his book without any, because they're in love. And it's phenomenal, this movie. And this movie is not a fantasy anymore, right? You will actually see that this movie it will materialize to a large extent. And that is the power for it. So if you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend you to actually watch this movie. It is not a future. To a large extent, it is present. And really, it's adapt or perish. That means you can choose to ignore this and go back and just do whatever you're doing and not even like bother about any of this stuff. Then you won't be relevant. Now, it will not happen in maybe 1 or 2 years, but I can promise you it'll happen in 10 years or 15 years. So you can ignore this at your peril. The skills of the person will have to be evolved. You will have to do different things in order to stay relevant. I mean, I actually look at it positively. Okay, don't get me wrong. It's not negative. I think it's going to have a net more jobs than it's going to lose jobs. It's just that you need to adapt and learn different kinds of skills. That's it. As long as you're open to learning new things, you will survive in this way. Yeah, on that positive note, I think that's all that I had to say today.
I mean, fantastic presentation. I loved it. I love that you can sit down at your desk and make a presentation that comes in so quickly. I sit here for hours creating my content for podcasts, for interviews, for conferences. It takes me hours.
Actually, Julianne, this is the great thing, right? Your voice is gone, right?
Yeah.
You have a lot of talks on internet, right? All you need to do really is go to discuss.com, train with your voice. And even if your voice is gone, you just type stuff, and in your voice, it'll say stuff, and you can still do the interview.
So it's called Go to Discuss.
It's called, I don't remember what the website is, but Discuss is, Podcastle is another one. And there's a third one that I put in there.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, you
We're
can get it
never
from
going to know when Julie's presenting live anymore.
Dang it.
that is a problem that mankind has to
question.
resolve, is what is generated and what is not
Yes.
generated. I don't have answers for that, really. A lot of people are already trying to just figure out what that is. But I'm sure we will also figure out tools to recognize that as well at some point of time.
I think that's the scary part of it. You know, who put this together? Is it authentic?
Right,
Yes.
right. Absolutely, yeah.
My
And that's
question,
why I said you usually know who put this together. And
yeah,
so that person bears the responsibility. It's as simple as that, whether it's generated from AI or it's generated from themselves.
and I think that it's scary because you don't know, is this person that's putting it out the shadizzle that they're making themselves look, right?
Right.
But
Absolutely.
That's the problem. I do have a question on ChatGPT. This information is from 2021. Has that been updated?
I think the latest model is updated. The ChatGPT 4, GPT-4, that's the latest model. If you pay for it, it's more current. But of course, it never gets updated every day. So please understand that. So it's not good for searching stuff, right? It's only good for like generating stuff, and then making sure that it's right. But yeah, it's never going to give you, it could be like 3-4 months old, maybe they could update it every 6 months, but the information will always be like few months old.
Okay, good to
At
know.
least until they figure out how to do this cost effectively, and then they start doing it in a much higher interval, much more frequency.
Yeah. Candace has a question.
Sure.
First time in my life being long-winded, it sounds like it's going to pay off with the AI. My question is, I was kind of along the lines of what Julie was alluding to. It sounds like to me that the information, the more information you give it, the smarter the output, and the more scammers that are out there that have a lot of people working for them. How is there anything that's going to be injected in there that you can find out whether a person is authentic? And I'll say this, that even like online dating, I did that a few months ago, and I hadn't been on those sites for like 7-8 years, and I was just blown away at the level of already using these types of programs to try to lure people in. I mean, you could tell something was off, but what you're describing is there's going to be a level of authenticity there that we're not going to be able to tell if it's real or not. Is there anything that's being done to be able to have, like you can have a waterproof line or something to prove that something's real? Something like that being embedded in any of this?
Short answer is no, not yet.
I don't understand.
The short answer is not yet. But believe me, a lot of companies are working on it. And you can Google or Perplexity it, and you will find out that there are a lot of ChatGPT like people who can recognize whether this content came from ChatGPT as well. They don't work as well, but they're out there. But I answered this question, but I want to actually address another point, which is a common misconception about AI with all the people. The common misconception about AI is that you are talking to ChatGPT and it's recording all the stuff. And then as the model gets better and better and better as many people interact with it. That is absolutely wrong. I'll tell you why. So the information does get used towards training a new model, but you have to specifically trigger a process called training and feed that information in, and then only it will start training. And in case of these generative models, it takes months for it to train. So when you're interacting with it, it's not getting better at all. Just please understand that. Okay. What these people do is, what the company OpenAI behind it saves your chats. Then humans looks at your chats and say that this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. Or sometimes you tell it like, hey, this is good, this is bad. And it uses that information, and when that information is fed back in using a process called training, that's when, and at the end of that training, it produces a model or a software that's better than the earlier software. But just because you are interacting with it does not make it better at all. I hope you understand what I'm saying, because this is a common misconception in non-technologist world about how AI just learns. AI doesn't learn automatically. You have to actually trigger a process to learn.
Yeah, that's good information. Paula, did you have a question? You're on mute.
Yes, I did, but I think he just answered it. He said that sometimes it's 90% true and that you have to check it. And so if it's like a little child, will I ever have to put it in the corner for misbehaving? And that's my question. But if it's only as good as the information that I've already put into it, or the bias of the person who made the platform, then in order for it to learn, it has to be placed in learning mode to be given the right or wrong responses so that it can
Correct.
learn
Yeah.
next steps.
So you can.
That's how I understand.
Yeah. So they try to overcome that biases by telling it when in the process of training that this is not good or this is good. They try to feed the right data in to make sure that the data itself is not. Everything in AI depends on the input data, training data. Your model is as good as your training data. So if your training data is really good, then your model is good. If your training data is bad, then your model is bad.
So they had a problem with Google's Gemini program, I know.
Yeah.
Based on the founding fathers, they
Russian soldiers or something. I don't know what.
And that was crazy. So they caught that and said they would change it. So again, it's only as good as the bias of what you teach it to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's important to note. You have to check it.
You have to check it, yeah.
VP, would we be able to get a copy of this, of your
absolutely.
presentation? Okay,
I'll
great.
be more than happy to. I'll send it to you, and then you can send it to whoever.
Yes, I'll send it out on Fridays for the Friday emails. All right, and then Dinesh, did you have a question?
Not a question, actually. I wanted to make a comment. Just wanted to, when you lose your voice, it would be really interesting to see AI version of Julie interviewing a couple of AI versions of VAs.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
Right. That could happen.
That's a bad day that Julie lost her voice, but maybe good for everybody else. All right. Well, this was fantastic. And can you go back or to the end for your contact information?
Yeah.
If somebody wants to get a hold of you, ask some questions, here's VP's information, VP at oldmoneycapital.com instead of at Old Capital. It's Old Money Capital. And this was fantastic information, but I'm sure there's more information.
I just have to say one thing, Julie. Please mention, like, if you email me, please mention either Julie's name in the, because I get a lot of solicitation emails and I don't remember all of your names. So if you mention Julie in the subject line, I promise you, I will not ignore it at all.
Or Zoom at 8.
Or Zoom at 8, both. Yeah, anything is fine. Yeah. Zoom at 8 or Julie.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. This has been amazing. And look forward to learning more about this and seeing it really take shape in the future. So
And thank you for giving me the
thank
opportunity
you
to
so
speak with
much.